Hi, and welcome to Flourishing Conversations, a program designed to ignite your curiosity. Brought to you by Bico. I'm Amy Kwok, and today I'm so pleased to welcome Robyn Nietert. After 25 years as a successful telecommunications attorney and businesswoman, Robyn left the corporate world and founded WMI, Women's Microfinance Initiative, a nonprofit that provides small business loans and business skills training to disenfranchised, impoverished women in rural East Africa. Today, Robyn is joining us to give us an overview about this amazing nonprofit and to illustrate how WMI is changing the face of poverty one loan at a time. Robyn, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Amy, you're really welcome. It's really my pleasure.
Robyn, WMI first started providing small business loans to women in Buyobo, a small rural village in Uganda. And now WMI has a presence in rural villages throughout Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Can you tell us a bit about the women who come from these areas?
Oh, sure. We work with strictly rural women who live in villages. So it's kind of unique like that because most microfinance loans for women, trying to include them in the financial system, business training, it's done in urban areas or it's done in towns because it's just a lot less expensive. But we only work in rural areas because women in rural areas of East Africa have so few options. And that's why we go to the rural areas and set up the training and loan program there. So the women we work with are typically between, say, 20 and 50 years old. They are mostly all married. They all have children. They're running their households. They have to be the provider of the food, seeing to their kids' education, taking care of their health needs, trying to extend whatever money their husbands are bringing to cover all of these costs. And it's a struggle. It's really a struggle. That's why we decided we would start in rural areas and offer women loan and training so they can start businesses that they can do in the location where they live, still take care of their households, still take care of their children. We made it accessible for them.
That's really awesome. I understand that there are many different types of microfinance models.
Yeah.
Can you explain in very broad, basic terms what microfinance is?
Sure. In its most generic sense, it's small loans. It's small financing for people. It's lending to poor people. You think of it like that. A lot of microfinance that we've seen, because it happens in cities, it's just making loans to poor people. And a lot of what you perhaps read in the general press talk about predatory lending that goes on out there because poor people are really vulnerable. So the microfinance institution will charge an enormous amount of interest, like 10% a month, 20% a month, 30% a month. Frequently interest, it so surprised me when I first started, when people express interest on loans in these rural areas of developing countries, they talk about monthly interest. They don't talk about approved annual interest like we do in the United States and other developed countries. So the lending institutions to the poor, they can be at very high rates. They can require a lot of collateral, which if you're poor, you probably don't have. So that excludes you from a loan in the first place. Or if you have it, you're so anxious about pledging it, I've seen things like mattresses, like the hoe you use in your garden, like your bicycle. So either people are anxious to pledge the small collateral they have, or they don't have any collateral. So that excludes so many people at the bottom of the pyramid anyway. And if you have to go to town to get a loan and you don't have transport money, or you're a woman and you don't normally travel alone, or you have kids, it's impossible for you to go to town. Basically, even these high-priced alternatives are out of your range.
Well, can you help us connect the dots between the microfinance and small lending to these East African women?
Sure.
Can you explain how WMI's loan program works?
Yeah. It's unique, and it really is grassroots. We started with 20 women I was connected to through my church here, Bradley Hills Presbyterian in Bethesda. 2 women from the church here are from Mayobo, Uganda. So I met them, and our church was doing a project, and basically my 2 friends said, well, the project the church is doing is great, but what people in the community really want, women with like loans to start their own businesses. And my friends and I had just read Muhammad Yunus's book, Banker to the Poor, which he deserved the Nobel Prize for, because it really revealed that poor people are bankable. You just have to provide a system that works for them. So we said, we're going to try this. My family and I, my 2 daughters, my husband, June Kaikobi, who was from Bayobo, Uganda, we went there. We met with the Widows Association. Olive Olimba, the head of the Widows Association, said, yes, we have women here who want to work, who want loans. I know they will repay, and it will be just such a huge boost for themselves and their households. So we made 20 loans of $100 each. And we gave them a 6-month term to repay. They set the repayment terms. They have to meet in a group, and they said, we're going to cross guarantee our loans. If someone in our group doesn't pay, the other 19 women will. And boy, they all paid on time. 6 months later, we issued another 20 loans, and then it just exploded. Now we've issued over 62,000 loans, totaling over $8 million. And we've trained the women in the villages to run the loan program. That's why we can do this and operate from the rural location, because women who live in that community and are leaders in the community run the program.
It's incredible. I do have some video clips that I pulled off WMI's website, because I really want people to see these women and the villages they come from, and this level of enthusiasm that they bring to the program. So this first clip I have is about a minute long, and it gives a very basic overview of the program, and you are the narrator in this one.
Oh, okay.
Why are these women in rural Uganda so happy? They have just graduated from the microloan program operated by the Women's Microfinance Initiative, known as WMI. These women have used their loans to start successful businesses. The WMI concept is unique. It is a 5-step program that takes a woman from poverty to financial autonomy by providing low interest, no collateral, no deposit loans of successively larger amounts over a 2-year period. The borrowers run the entire program, preparing the funds, issuing the loans, and maintaining all of the records. The new village groups know how much effort it takes to bring the WMI loan program to them, and there is always an exuberant welcome when the trainers arrive. With hard work, determination, and family involvement, the women's businesses are prospering, and their family living standards are improving dramatically.
So, as you mentioned, the women are broken down into loan groups, and they're comprised of 20 women, and the groups are called solidarity groups.
Right.
And they really seem to be key to the success of this entire program. Can you tell us what the women in each group do for each other, and also describe the group dynamics?
Oh, sure. It's really an interesting concept that we use. We call it social collateral. So because women don't have physical collateral, and they certainly don't have any money to pledge as collateral on a loan, they get together in a group, all women who know each other, all from the same village, they all live proximate to each other, and they each basically pledge. They sign a little pledge. If someone in this group doesn't pay, I will cover her loan. And then every 2 weeks they come, they meet together, and everybody has to make their loan payment. And if someone is missing, sure enough, the other 19 women amongst themselves will decide how to cover her loan payment. And then they will go to her house and say, where were you? We had to cover your loan payment. By having women who are all in the same situation basically say, look, we have to trust each other. We have to be responsible to each other. And we have to live up to what we say we're going to do. they're placing the responsibility on their own shoulders. So it's been really effective. The loan program has about a 98% repayment rate. And when we find that we always know what happened when there's a loan that hasn't been repaid, because it's a village level program. It's centralized right there in the village. So the social collateral has been huge. It's huge. And it basically says we're going to trust each other. And that's how it's going to work.
Huge, as you said. And on that note, my second clip, I wanted to show what happens when someone defaults on a loan payment.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. Here we'll see what happens when, I think you mentioned that when this happens, that the other women in the group, they can't get new loans either. And so we're going to see what happens when the women in the group pay the defaulter a little visit.
Maybe to our visitors, the lady's home is in Sonol down there, but she decided to come to the mother's place and hide from here. But somebody tipped the ladies and said, no, we saw her yesterday in her mother's home. That's why they came here and I've got her. So she has paid 100,000 and she had a debt of 300,000. She has paid 100, now 200. She's pleading that she's coming back to sell the goats and pay the balance. But the ladies are saying, no, let us go to the office. You make an agreement before you can sell your goats, because you can easily run away. You are a stubborn borrower. So now we are going to the office for her to make an agreement. Then maybe in the evening she can sell the goats, bring the money tomorrow.
What I love about that clip is it shows how similar we all are, right? It's like, I owe someone money and I really don't want to pay it. So it's time to hide, time to go to mom's house. Oh no, they found me. Now I'm going to do my little negotiation dance and give my side of the story, you know? And then the women in the group, they're so funny. They've essentially turned into their own in-house counsel, you know? Yes. Oh, you're not selling that goat and coming back to pay us. We're reducing this to writing. So we're going back to the office and we're writing an agreement. They've basically turned into attorneys.
Don't you love it? Being an attorney myself, one thing we always taught the ladies is, if you don't write it down, it did not happen. Verbal agreements are so common. That's why misunderstandings are so common. That's why things are always a little off kilter when you're working in rural areas. These ladies, you're signing an agreement, and we know how to write an agreement. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be clear and say who the parties are and what are they doing. It's so empowering for those ladies. I am telling you, they feel like they have control over their environment, over situations, over their dealings with the borrowers. It's really quite something to see them in charge.
So as we've seen from these clips, these villages are remote and they are poor and often lack basic infrastructure like electricity and running water and proper roads. So what types of businesses do these women start under these types of conditions?
The first thing we tell those ladies is start a business that you can manage in the environment that you live in. Don't start a business where you think you're going to make baskets and someone's going to export them to high-end department stores in Europe. Don't do that. Do something that you actually have control of. And so, not surprisingly, many start with something related to agriculture. It's either buying seeds, growing tomatoes and onions, mushrooms. Mushrooms are very popular, and selling them. And then you move along. Well, how can you add value to it? How can you make sure your crop isn't coming to be harvested the same time as everybody else's crop, so the price drops? Can you dehydrate it? Can you turn it into jam? What can you do? Where can you sell it? That's not the same place everybody else is selling. What can you make? Can you make pancakes? Can you make mandazi? Can you put it on trucks that the truckers are taking up to South Sudan or to Western Uganda? And they get it. They understand. They understand about competition. They understand about timing and price. So that's a lot of what the ladies do. But honestly, because we've been working in the same villages now for almost 15 years, their businesses evolve. If they started, growing whatever maize and then buying maize from other farmers and then aggregating it, and then you're selling it to school for school lunch programs, or you're churning it into maize flour, you're going one step up the value added chain. They see this going on around them and they're like, why not me? Well, once you see someone just like you being successful, that's what makes you ask the why not me question.
Really great.
So we feel like one of the greatest role models we have are the other women in the loan program. There's thousands of women now in these areas who are circulating around who have businesses.
Well, I have seen a lot of clips off of WMI's website, and I'm just really struck by the amount of collective celebrating and joy and singing and dancing really every step of the way, from the time they first get their loans to the time they get their calculators and their notebooks and learn how to bookkeep, throughout their entire training, and then of course at graduation. So what are some of the lessons that we can learn from these remarkable women?
I think one of the big takeaways that I've learned is about having a village level grassroots kind of an initiative. And that's something that I think people who work in nonprofits here in the United States would tell you. It's much different if you're working on the grassroots level, trying to understand the causes of poverty, the causes of food insecurity, the causes of homelessness. It's a lot different when you're working on the local level than if you're looking at the top down and, you're the governor and you're saying, okay, my state has 100,000 homeless people. What am I going to do about that? It's just different. When you're in the community, you can start problem solving from a community level. And that's what these ladies do. We have an orphan program. We have a clean water program. We have a fuel efficient stove program. And it's because the ladies looked around them and said, what's going on in our community? What can we do from the bottom up to make the situation better here for everybody? And I think that's something that we can all love. So I think that's one thing you can take away. Another thing is financial literacy. These ladies, many of them, I would say half of the women in our program are illiterate, but they're not enumerate. They can understand numbers. And once you show somebody how to track income and expenses and the difference between income and expenses and the difference between profit and cash flow, every lady in that village could tell you that just because you have money coming through your business does not mean you have profit. That is just cash flow. If your money coming through your business is not more than the expenses and the cost of running your business, you are not making anything. You are just pushing money around. That's something I think a lot of people in this country could learn.
I agree.
And savings. We have savings. They have group savings. They have individual savings. We give prizes out for the best savers because we know how important saving is. Savings frequently prevent a poor family, from sliding into a spiral of poverty that they will never get out of because of a catastrophe. And that's what we tell them. Make a goal for your savings. Have a goal to save in case you have a medical catastrophe. Have a goal to save to expand your business. Have a goal to save to send your kids to secondary school or university. And having that focused goal on savings, another big deal. I feel like every high school, forget high school, every middle school should be teaching financial literacy to kids. They just on simple terms, they will never forget simple financial literacy concepts, and those concepts will serve them their entire lives.
Well, WMI has existed for about 12 years now, and I want to share some incredible statistics, and I'm just scraping the surface here. To date, WMI has provided about 60,000 loans, and you're positioned to deliver 10,000 annually.
Yeah.
And while each loan goes to one borrower, when you account for that one borrower's nuclear family and extended family members, that one loan impacts 20 people, which means that in only 12 years, WMI has impacted the lives of over 350,000 people. Robyn?
It's something, I know. The way it's a ripple effect, Amy. It's really a ripple effect.
I mean, when you hear those statistics, how does that make you feel?
I feel great because I am just a little cog in this giant network of village women in East Africa, and being a part of something that big that they have grown through their tremendous dedication, perseverance, and insight. They're very insightful about how we can continue to grow this and how we can protect the capital. So every donation that WMI makes, we're getting out there, we're putting it out for a loan, the ladies pay back, with interest, we relend it. So it is a gift that keeps on giving. As long as the ladies repay their loans, the loan program will continue in perpetuity. The interest they charge on their loans covers all of the local operating overhead. That's how we set it up. So it's entirely self-sustaining once it's funded.
Well, I want to end with a couple things.
Sure.
First, you had mentioned this, but I just want to underscore to the viewers and listeners that your work, all of your work and the work of your board is 100% volunteer. So even when you're traveling to Africa, that is paid out of your own pocket. No money comes out of the WMI funds.
No.
And secondly, I really want to share this last clip. It's about 3 minutes, and it chronicles the story of one of the borrowers.
There is somebody behind there who is looking at a rural woman with compassion, with love. Somebody who is not of my clan, who is not of my nation, but she's so concerned about a Roman. She wants a Roman to live a better life. So when I was handed the envelope, I was like, I am now set to go outside and begin working. So I was happy within me. I had a joy within me because I knew what has been tormenting me, I am now going to kick it out of my family. Yes. I was somehow scared, but I said, after all, I can do some business. I believe I will manage. So I picked the courage and said, let me go and attend that training. She taught us with compassion. She taught us with love. And I felt I was loved. And I thought I felt I was also somebody in this world. And I remembered I discovered God has remembered me. I registered as a borrower, and they gave me a small loan where I began from. At first I was scared when I brought the sodas. First week I could not sell 2 breads, so I was like, will these people buy my sodas? Because if they fail to buy it, then I'm failing to repay the loan. Time went on. the small business grew slowly by slowly. I was able to save some little money, and out of that small little money that I would save, I would take my children to school. I would plan for other small things. I was the happiest, I think. I was the happiest. In fact, everybody was dancing. It was such a joyous day.
When they finished the loan, the first loan, I was very excited. Robyn, do you know? They have completed 100%. She was very excited. Then you can give her more.
If I had not joined this program, I would not have gone this far. I would not have gone this far. So my appreciation entirely goes to Robyn and the board members for the good work they did. A small woman like me, at one time I will be sleeping in a permanent house.
Aw, that's Jackie Namani.
I have watched this clip several times and I get choked up every single time. There are just so many powerful quotes in this clip, and it really shows not only the material transformation that's occurring, but the spiritual transformation. And it's all because of WMI's program. It's incredibly moving. So I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing and your incredible work, and for being here to share it with us. Really, I appreciate it so much.
It's my pleasure. I'm always happy when one more person can see what Village Women can achieve when just given small resources. That's all they need. The sky's the limit, Amy.
Thank you, Robyn. And thank you all for being curious with me today. Until next time, take care.